Dereta, dereta, dereta. Stop, stop, stop. Okay, okay. Hop, 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 hop. No le move. Asparagus.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Stephanie and welcome back to my channel. So in the video today, I'm going to be answering the question of how many hours do I study a day? So how much do I study just in general? Now, this is just in regards to myself. Other PA students can say different things, they have different experiences, but this is just in regards to my experience. So how much do I study? So I just wanted to answer this. This is just for my didactic year. I just finished my didactic year, so I wanted to answer this question. So how many hours a day do I study? I would say that I study, if I have class, I would say I study about 6 hours, 5 to 6 hours a day. It's after class. So I have class from 8 a.m. to 5, sometimes 4. It really depends on what day of the week it is. And then after that, I'll go to the library in my school and I study from 5 to 10, 5 to 11, or 4 to 10, 4 to 11, it depends. Usually I don't stay at the library till 12 unless it's exam week. But on a daily basis when I have class, I study about 5 to 6 hours. I will usually go over the information that was already taught in class, and then at the end of the day, I make sure I go over my flashcards. And I always add to my flashcards with every day. That way I'm repeating the information I learned from day 1, and by day 30, I already know the information that was done in day 1 and day 2, day 3, day 4, successively, etc. Now, on my days off, for example, Saturday and Sunday, my weekends, I usually study Saturdays, I'll study 8 or 9 hours, and then I'll have some time off. Sundays, I study about 6 hours, and then I'll have some time off. Now, when it comes down to exam week, I study a lot more. Saturdays and Sundays, I usually study 12, 14, 15, or 16 hours. I know you were gonna say crazy. Some of my classmates are like, "Ta loca, no sé cómo lo haces tú." They think I'm crazy. They don't know how I do it. I am crazy, but I just, for me, I can't just cram. It doesn't work for me. I wish it would. I have to sit down and go over the information over and over again. So exam week, I study a lot more. I usually wake up at 6 a.m. Sometimes it doesn't happen all the time because I'm exhausted. So the latest is usually 8 a.m. that I wake up. I'll wake up at 8 a.m. I'll go to a coffee shop and I'll study there. Usually Starbucks. I'll get a cup of coffee. I feel like the mornings are a lot more beneficial for me because I'm a morning person. So this really depends on whether you're a night person or not, or a morning person. I know some of my classmates learn a lot better at night because they're night owls. But me, I'm a morning person, so I learn a lot better in the morning. So I usually study the topics that I'm having trouble with, or classes that I struggle with, or classes that I just don't like. For example, pharmacology. I usually do pharmacology in the morning because if I study it at 8 p.m. or later in the evening, by that time my brain's fried already. So if I study during that time, I'm not going to grasp anything. So I study that. And what I usually do is that I divide, like the days that I study 12 hours or 14 or 15, I divide that day equally. So say on Monday I have 4 exams, which my program does. They have this thing, it's called Black Monday, where I have 4 exams that day. I make sure that I divide the 12 hours for each, in between those 4 exams. So 12 divided by 4 it's 3, right? So I will study 3 hours for every class. So 3 hours in the morning for pharmacology, 3 hours, the next 3 hours for my clinical medicine class, next 3 hours for my pathophysiology class, and then next 3 hours for my patient encounter class. That way I go through every subject every day and don't leave that subject behind. Because what I did my first semester is that I would spend a whole day on one subject, and the next day another subject, and the next day another subject. And by the time the exam came around, the subject that I went over the first day, which was like 2 days ago, right? I had already forgotten. So that's why it's make sure that you want to make sure that you go over the information every day. So this is why I do this every day. Another thing that I do is that I find myself at 8 p.m. usually on exam days, or in the evening, like I said, that I'm already brain dead and I feel like I can't study the information anymore. So I really like doing questions. So I like to do practice questions, whether it's through osmosis or whether it's through Smarty Pants. Smarty Pants has great questions that are very, very similar to your exam. So I do Smarty Pants questions, and then I'll test myself. And then I'll see what I am missing, what is my weak point, and that way I can go back and look at that information. Another thing that I see with exam questions is that I usually notice patterns. So I notice a subject being repeatedly tested, so I make sure that I know that subject, because it's going to be very likely that subject is going to be on the exam, or that the question similar is going to be on the exam. And questions are very, very similar, like I said, on Smarty Pants to the ones on the exam. If not, some of my professors will reuse the questions from Smarty Pants on their exams. So that's why questions are really, really important, and I usually do that when I'm just brain fried and I just can't study anymore. Because 12 hours will get you brain fried. No matter how much coffee you drink, by the time 8 or 9 p.m. hits, I find myself on my phone and I'm just like, okay, I'm wasting time. I have to do questions. I'm just so brain fried. And the day before exam, I always make sure that I go to sleep and I get enough sleep, because you want to make sure that your brain is up to par for the exam. Because if you're sleep deprived, you're not going to be able to read the questions properly. And one of the things for PA school exams is that the questions are very hard. They're all about critical thinking. So you read the question and you know what the answer is, but it's not asking you what the answer is. I mean, you know what the diagnosis is, but you have to know what the treatment for that diagnosis is, but not only what the treatment is. I mean, there's multiple treatments. You want to know what the best treatment for the diagnosis is. So that's why it's really important to have proper sleep or appropriate sleep before you take your exam, because you want to be able to perform properly. You want to be able to go through the question and catch what the professor is asking or what the question is asking, because if you're sleep deprived, I've caught myself several times that I don't read the question appropriately and I answer it incorrectly. How do I know? Is that after class finishes, me and my classmates always discuss the questions, because we're always very, very nervous on whether we got it correct or not. So I always ask my classmates, hey, what did you put for this question? Or they'll ask me, hey, what did you put for this question? And I've caught myself asking them, hey, do you remember this question? They'd be like, no. Or they'll ask me, hey, remember this question? No, I don't remember that question. It's because I probably didn't read it thoroughly, or I did not answer it appropriately, and that was because I was sleep deprived. So sleeping is really important, and getting the appropriate sleep before you take your exams. I can't stress that enough. I know some of my classmates will usually pull all-nighters, but I can't do that. I will be so brain fried and I just won't be able to perform appropriately. So yeah, that's why I recommend sleep. So in general, how many hours do I study? I study a lot, guys. I really do. On the weeks that I don't have exams, on the weekends, I'll go out to eat with my family. I'll probably watch one episode of my favorite show, but that's it. And then I'll go back to sleep, and I'll usually catch up on sleep most of the time. But most of the time I'm studying, and I like to study in the morning, so 8 a.m., 7 a.m., 6 a.m. sometimes. Most of the time it's 8 a.m. And I study in the morning because I feel like I'm more productive in the morning, and that way in the afternoon I just get to relax. But on exam days, that's when I have a lot more studying to do, because I want to make sure that I'm prepared for the exam. And being that I do want to hopefully get into a residency, which I will discuss later in future videos, I want to make sure that I get good grades, because residencies are very, very hard to get into, and you have to have good grades. It's very competitive. So that's one of my goals, is to get good grades. This is why I study all the time. And during the weekday when I have class, I also study after class. So you'll find me going to the library right after class, get home like at 10 or 11, I'll shower, and then I'll go to sleep to repeat the same thing the next day. So that's just how I study during the week, 5 to 6 hours. Weekends are a little bit longer usually, since I have more time. Alright guys, well thanks for watching my video. Like I said, this is just my experience. Different students have different experiences, but I study as much as I can, because I want to make sure that I grasp the information, and I want to make sure I do well on my exams. Alright guys, well thanks for watching my videos, and I'll talk to you guys later.